Hello again, monkeys. So today I'm going to be doing a oil change for you, but not just oil change. No. This is actually the first service. So what I'm going to do is, theoretically in the book, not necessary until 8,000 miles, but for the sake of the gasket set, which I may not even need, it's well worth doing. Essentially, inside this engine, there's no filter. There's no actual oil-filled paper filter like you normally get. What there is behind here, there's a little metal flywheel. It spins at high speed, and any particles within the oil that's in it, this cavity inside, are forced out towards its walls. It's known as an oil spinner. It's a bit of a weird idea, to be frank, but it works. It's a centrifugal filter as such. So what I want to do is first off drain the oil. Now you'll notice that I've already whipped off the exhaust just for ease of access. You can catch that in a little video. I'll link that on this video, so you can, should you not be sure, it's very simple, but should you want to see how to remove an exhaust, you can. So what I'm going to do next is just show you the mileage that's showing on this machine at the moment. So it's showing 583 miles, which is ripe for first service territory. So first off, what I'm going to do is empty the oil out, which is very straightforward. All you're going to need is one 17mm socket. Drain plug is here. It's never been opened before, so it should be a bit stiff. There we go. Right, I've just cracked it. Now, I'm going to catch the oil in a Tupperware box so I can see the oil. Long one. There we go. It's darker than I expected. Nearly there. I'm just going to rock the bike slightly to get the last bits out. What I'll do is leave this to drain for another 5 minutes or so and come back to you. Brilliant, right, so that's drained. What I've done is gently rock the bike back and forth, which helps to remove all of the oil from the engine. There we go, a couple more drips coming out there again. So what I'm going to do is, with a new crush washer, which they really shouldn't be reused, whack that back in the hole. Okay, one. Tighten up to. I will post the correct torque figure for that, and I will torque it correctly later. So let's do the fun bit. So what you're going to need, we have a big gasket that sits between this plate, this casing, and the actual engine block. We also have another gasket that fits between the oil spinner front plate and the spinner itself. You may or may not actually need these depending on how well they come apart. But if you've worked on engines before, you well know that gaskets tend to weld themselves to surfaces. Hopefully they release cleanly because it's quite a new engine. I'll put the part numbers for those in the description below. So let's go for it. Okay, so the reason I've taken the exhaust off is because this doesn't come out easily. I'm trying to avoid having to take this off because it actually incorporates the rear arm pivot. So what I'm going to do is just put a few bits of masking tape on where I think things might touch, just to protect the paint on this casing. You don't have to, but I'm going to, so you know. Particularly down this side is pretty tight, so I can see that scratching in quite easily. Right, what I'll do first off, I'll take off the. What I'll do first is take off the clutch lever. So, with my 5mm Allen key head, these won't be tight, but they shouldn't be loose because they're into aluminium. Right. One bolt. Now to just release the clutch cable end. Okay. That can just hover wherever it likes. Okay. Now I shall release all the accessible screws in no particular order because they're not really torqued, so okay. Now we come to the awkward ones. There are three that you're going to need a ball head Allen key for. There's one back here. Quick pro tip, use a 3/8 extender on the end of a Allen key. These three are awkward. Bear in mind, when this comes off, you will release some oil. So I've still got the oil tray underneath. I'm going to remove these three first, without dropping them into the oil tray. I get the feeling one may not come out. There's one. There's two. If I get away with this without dropping a single screw in the oil tray, I'll be very, very pleased. Right. Not quite enough space to get that one out, but it's not a problem. It can stay where it is. So now I just need to release the rest. So I'm just going to whack my end back on. I'm going to leave this top one in place for now, just in case anything decides to pop off. Okay. All these bolts are identical. Just watch these little clips and things. I'm going to actually pull these off just to keep them safe. Don't forget where they go and how they fit. That one doesn't want to come out. There we go. That's the lambda sensor there. Just get that wire out of the way safely. Right, one more bolt down there. Right, last one, and we can crack the case off. Now I don't know how easily this is going to release. We'll soon see. Okay, well, I need a little screwdriver just to give it a bit of a persuasion. There we go, it's just released. Here we go, and there's some oil. Superb. Come out. Go on. Please don't make me have to take the case off. Yeah, we're out. Awesome. Okay. So what we've got in there is some remnants of oil. So I'm just going to put this to one side, somewhere safe. And because this gasket has come away totally clean, there is scope to actually reuse this gasket. So bonus points there. Just going to give that a bit of a wipe down. Okay. Put that down there, out of the way. So what we have in front of us is clutch mechanism, which is a multi-plate wet clutch, and here is our oil spinner. What I'm going to do now is move stuff around a bit and come back to you in a second. Right then, so started the engine off. Effectively, this here is a flywheel. It's a heavy lump of metal which rotates. It's stuck on directly on the end of the crankshaft itself. It then in turn drives the clutch. The clutch then drives the gearbox. So what we need to do is remove these 3 bolts here. So to do that, you'll need a trusty 10mm extension socket, and what we need to do though is stop this turning. Easiest method, which pretty much everyone uses, is quite simply stick a coin in it. So what I'm going to do is just take up the slack there, just in here, pop in a 2p, which will wedge itself between the teeth quite safely. These haven't got a lot of torque on them. I think they are thread locked. They feel like they're thread locked. So now I can bring these out. These are quite stiff. Okay, now oil will come out of this because there's a hole effectively in the centre, so make sure your drip tray is in place. Don't drop your nuts. Bolts, don't drop your bolts into your oil tray. That would not be a good day. So that's those 3 out. So now I need to pull this plate off. Here we go. Big blob of oil's just come out of there. Clean off. So there is an amount of grey on basically everything inside the engine. That's a mixture of material from the cylinder bore, and from the clutch itself. Okay, just pull this gasket off. Might be reusable. It's made of metal. If I can avoid bending it, it might be reusable. In fact, now there's a definite sheen on this of metallic. I'm not going to reuse this. Not because of that, but there's gritty stuff on it. So let's have a look what's actually inside this filter. What I'm going to do is get the camera a bit lower at this point. So, inside here, there you go. This is clearly not good stuff. What I want to do is try and clear out as much of this as I can without pushing it. Oh God. Look at this. So that's quite metallic-y. So that's a mixture of metallic stuff from the cylinder bore, anything that's worn in effectively. The grey lumps would be the clutch materials. And this is supposed to be cleaned out at 8,000 miles? Okay, now I'm happy that's as clean as it can be. I want to move on down to the other filter, which is just down here. It pulls out, and it's basically a just focus. This is effectively a wire mesh, bronze wire mesh, and that too is full of bits. In this case, what looks like a couple of bits of silicone sealer, and this screen that goes in under the oil pump, which is this bit here. So it drags stuff off the bottom of the engine, and these will be leftovers from manufacture. So I'll just clean that off and get back to you in a sec. Right then, so as the Haynes manual always says, reassembly is the opposite of disassembly, or something like that. So I just want to clean out these screw holes because we need to thread lock the bolts back in. Thread lock doesn't like to stick to gunk or oil. So we're happy that everything's now pristine, absolutely clean. First off, I just want to whack in this little the oil screen at the bottom, which is under the oil pump. That goes down here. Now, if you notice the orientation of this thing, it's sort of it's slightly that shape, if you like. So it goes in that way. There's also little like flaps on the edges. These flaps come off the top edge, so that goes in down there. Boop. Right, now this piece has a new gasket. Must go on a specific way, and that way is this way. Note the way I've got that aligned. The flat face, outer flat face, goes against that. So what I'm going to do is thread lock up my screws. A little bit of blue. Get my plate. Get one in. Okay. And I can just get the other two in place as well. So I'm making sure the thread's clean before I thread lock these. Little gob of blue. Okay. Just wind them in manually. And these need to be tightened to 12 Newton meters. Now, what we're going to have to do is just tighten them down slightly each. I need to wedge in the penny under the back end down here to stop this rotating. Don't forget you put it in there, for God's sake. There. Okay. These should be done rotated as such. Apply even pressure. Now, I happen to know what 12 foot-pounds feels like, so I'm very happy to do this by feel. Sorry, 12 Newton meters. That is that. Right, so I'm now happy that all the internal work is done. It's cleaned up. It's ready to put back together. So now I can put the engine casing back on. Now, as I said, this gasket is in good condition because it's a newish engine. If I'd torn it slightly on taking it off, I would replace it. Just make sure that it's absolutely spotless. It can be a bit oily, that's absolutely fine. Make sure there's no grit, sludge, hair, fluff, anything on there at all. Make sure the inside is clean, and also make sure specifically that this little plunger here is in place. That's what pushes on the clutch. Without that, because it can drop out, without that you won't have a clutch. You have to take it apart again. So if you remember, there was one bolt that I had to leave in, and it was that one. Right, this is going to be awkward. Wear in. Just make sure that you don't damage your gasket. You need to make sure everything's aligned, and it should pop straight on. Boom. Okay, now I'll tighten everything up. I'll fast forward through this bit. There we go. Done. Now we need to fill back up with oil. First off, make sure you put the sump plug back in. Oils. Always use the best oil you can afford. And because there's only a litre in this thing, you might as well put the best oil possible in. Though, there are two versions of Castrol Power One. Always use 10W34T. That's very, very important. It must be for a bike. Do not use car oil. It must also be JSO MA2. These are important bits. So, there are two types of this, as I said. Power One, standard, is semi-synthetic. Power One Racing is fully synthetic. It's about £3 more for this. Just do it. Right, let's fill her up. So this takes about a litre. Supposedly if it's bone dry it's 1.1 litres. And if it's an all service, it's 0.9 litres. I'm inclined to think this is going to take about a litre because we've basically totally drained it, but there may be some stuff still in the back end of the crankcase. So you can use a little funnel if you want. I'm just going to go straight in. Interestingly, this oil is bright red. Well, pink, which is unusual for engine oil. Usually transmission oils are this colour. So what I'm going to do is whack in, as you can see on here, whack most of it in. And see where we're at on the level. Now bear in mind that your oil spinner normally contains a bit of oil, and that's now empty. So what I'm going to do is put most of this in up to the max level on the side, and the bike has to be upright to read that, so let's just check. Yeah. What I'm going to do is let the thread lock set off, so I'll give it an hour or two. Then I'll run it, stop it, let it cool, check the level, top up as appropriate, and you're good to go. So effectively, we are now done for the first oil service. There's no point doing that every time you change the oil, unless you really want to. But basically, we're done, so keep on monkeying.